Good morning to our listening clients. We would like to thank you for taking out the time to join us once again. And I think the months and Q1 I would run off in the next 48 hours, which means that we're looking forward to a new quarter. As for this usual practice, through what happened in the fixed income markets and also in the equities markets, and possibly point us to where we should be looking at in terms of taking actions as it pertains to your investment decisions. For the fixed income markets, looking at the money market space, we saw that last week was a bit soft in terms of liquidity. We saw liquidity slowing down from over 8 trillion that we witnessed the previous week to close last week at 5.93 trillion naira. And this was largely due to the obligations, settlement obligations we had during the week that was. And the two obligations were we had almost settlement of roughly about 3 trillion naira. We also saw the Nigerian Treasury bills auction settlement of roughly around half a trillion naira. When those obligations hit the system, we saw the liquidity slowing down to close eventually at around 5.9 trillion, which is still very, 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 very strong. When you look at what the average used to be for period, expect that this position should also slow down further for the new week because of the expected outflows we're looking at in the system. And as a result, that also influenced the funding rates as the overnight rate slightly went higher due to the reduction in the liquidity level to close at 22.26%, up by 5 basis points. While for the open repo rate, that remains flat because the open repo rate is just mainly it mirrors where the monetary policy rate is. Monetary policy at 26.5. Asymmetric corridor is minus 4.50, which leaves open repo rate at 22%. Then last week, as mentioned earlier, we had the Treasury bills auction, which saw CBN offering around 400 billion naira across the three tenors for the 91-day 100 billion, 182-day 100 billion, and then 364-day 200 billion was offered. But not surprisingly, I would say, subscription touched almost 3 trillion naira. And for as many people who have been consistently following sessions every Monday, they would have noticed the pattern. At every auction that takes place, subscription levels have always been very, very high. Because how do you explain subscription of almost 3 trillion naira vis-a-vis just 400 billion offered? It tells us that one, system is liquid, as we've shown earlier, and then two, we've seen a lot of interest from investors. A number of investors know that the dynamics in the market might change anytime from now, and as such, they are trying everything possible to ensure that they lock in their investment for as long as possible. And that was reflected rather in the subscription interest on the 91 day. We saw 98.7 trillion naira, sorry, billion naira subscription. On the 182 days, 66.5 billion. But on the 364-day bill, we saw a subscription of about 2.7 trillion naira. I think this would be about over 12, 13x, right? Because 12x would have been 2.4. That's about 14x the amount offered. At the end of the auction, we saw marginal allotments as 520.7 billion was eventually allotted by the CBN to investors, and that consequently affected the movement in the rates levels. On the 91-day rate closed flat. On the 182-day, we saw a 20 basis point dip in rates to settle at 16.42, and likewise on the 364-day bill, we saw similar movements in rates as swap rate declined by 20 basis points to close at 16.43%. What does this tell us? It tells us that one, CBN is trying everything possible just to make sure they stabilize rates in the markets. But on the other end, investors are already pricing in potential any potential increase in inflation, which could likely also affect a further holding rates. All of these dynamics have been playing out, but for us, we are here to guide you appropriately on what we believe you should be doing. And our advice in this regard would be that the level where rates are right now, we strongly believe that they are still very attractive for any investor who's looking to position. And as you can see from the general sentiment in the market, most people are looking towards the long end of the curve as they believe that this is where most value can be attained on their investment. And then coming down to the secondary markets, we saw that the buyers was quite mixed. And one, the mix in the sense that investors are trying as much as possible to push rates higher by bidding at the higher rates. For the authority on the other end, and the most importantly, the CBN, they're doing everything possible to make sure that the rates are kept moderate. And these two sentiments saw average yields just marginally declining by an average of 3 basis points to close at 17.63%. Despite the liquidity level, we would have expected that rates would have gone down significantly. But I think investors' resistance to ensuring that they are better compensated for their investments and looking at the macroeconomic conditions, particularly the impact of the ongoing war in the Middle East on the global economy. And then at the bond markets, for in the same vein, we saw activities mixed on that end. But at this end of the market, we saw more of a sell-off, and that isn't surprising as this week there is a bond auction taking place. I think it has already opened. So investors last week were just trying to rebalance their portfolio to position ahead for this week's auction. And at the end of that, activities were also very, very, very thin. As on the short end, we only saw a marginal movement in rates by 2 basis points where it went higher, while on the short end of the curve, we saw a marginal decline of 1 basis point at the long end. And that's to tell us that activities were also not very, very present, as I believe most investors are just waiting to see what the direction of the debt management office would be to this auction. But as this information comes to the market and there are further development, of course, we'll keep our clients informed. By the end of trading session for last week, we saw that the average yields across the curve slightly went up by 1 basis point to close at 15.59%. Then looking at the foreign exchange market, this is an area that I believe a number of investors are also monitoring just to know how to effectively plan their investment. But for last week, we saw that the official window, Naira depreciated by 170 basis points. It closed at 1,383 Naira 23 kobo. That's about 20 Naira decline in value, loss in value from where we closed the previous week. While at the parallel market, we saw a similar decline, so a similar pattern where Naira also declined by 107 basis points to close at 1,415 Naira. We still believe that the level where rates are relatively okay because this is the same market where FX was trading as high as 1,600, almost 1,700 before things then took a positive turn. So we believe at 1,314 respectively, this is not a bad one, although we would have expected that the convergence between both rates would be so evident and they won't be having the almost 30 naira gap we have. But as we've always maintained, the volatility in this market is still very strong. And that's because our major source of FX, one, crude oil, which contributes to roughly over 50% of the country's FX source, is still not being fully optimized. And we believe that as soon as we're able to get as soon as we're able to get our house in order in that regard, and believe that the foreign exchange market should become more stable and more attractive for investors to plan themselves. But looking at what we should expect for the rest of the week, as mentioned earlier, there's a bond auction taking place, so we would expect that the market will be quiet until the result is out. But notwithstanding, we expect that the resistance that we saw at the last primary market auction for the Nigerian Treasury bill might also be evident here, because we believe investors will continue to push higher, while the authorities will also try as much as possible to keep rates stable at the levels where they are. For the Treasury bill secondary market, we expect that some bullish run should return to the market, and that's because liquidity conditions still remains very, very strong. So we should see some buy interest. And for the bond secondary market as well, we will expect that post the primary market auction, we should see some buying interest, and that will be largely on the back of the prevailing liquidity condition. Then, as we've kept you updated on the tension in the Middle East, there seems not to be a resolution in sight from our own standpoint, but we believe that this war cannot continue to linger on. Some points we believe that the players or the key players would find a common ground to ensure that peace returns to the region. But in the meantime, the tension remains, and the impact, as we've established in the previous sessions, still is very, very obvious. As we are currently experiencing, we've seen a almost 60% increase in energy costs, which we expect that if this war doesn't die down anytime soon, things might even go bad or worse than they are currently. But this is a space, this is a development we'll continue to bring we'll continue to bring to your notice, right? And how that will potentially impact on our investment decision in the market. And then, having said all of this, we strongly believe that for you to be able to optimize or benefit the dividends of the markets, you need to find where to put your money. And that's where at Lead Capital, we've curated several products that we believe would meet different investors' objective, from our Lead Fixed Income Fund to our Lead Balanced Fund to Lead Dollar Fixed Income Fund to our fixed income products, which we've tagged to Gazelle Portfolio In-house, and our Eurobond investment option. These are products that we believe that the various investors can key into, be it a retail investor, you're an institutional investor, a corporate client, irrespective of what your objective is. Are you looking at preserving your capital? Are you looking at aggressive growth in your aggressive return on investment? These products are there for you to benefit in, and for you to key into them. Our customer service lines are open. You can always send us emails, and we will provide you with the accurate information to subscribe to any of the products. With this, we've come to the end of the fixed income review. We'll go through the equities markets now, and thereafter we'll take questions if there are any.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, thank you, Mr. Sam. I'll be taking the equity market report. Yes, let's see the session outline for today. Review of equity markets, investor delight stock for the week, schedule for analyzed dividend hunting, audited and audited any updates for the year 2025, weekly stock recommendation, dividend qualification window and payment trackers, weekly expectations, and weekly outlook. Thank you. Now, looking at what we are seeing on the graph now, is showing us all what happened on the All Share Index and the NGX Index. The graph on the screen depicts All Share Index and NGX 30 movement for the week. All Share Index started with a drop from 204 basis points from Wednesday to 200 basis points on Monday before returning to a positive trend on Tuesday. Now, if you see the graph, why on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, we had a relatively no change, meaning no loss or gain. If you see the NGX 30, the same also happened, showing that more activities are in these two sectors. Now, what we are seeing is a pie chart showing the representation of the distribution of volume and value across sectors for the week. The financial sector has 73%, while other has 16%, ICT has 6%, and finally, agriculture have 5%. It's just showing us all the activity that occurred during the week. Equity market review. The total turnover of 3.95 billion share worth 201.31 billion naira was traded, in contrast to a total of 8.76 billion shares valued at 267.253 billion naira that exchanged hands in the previous week. Let's see the sectors. The financial sector industry dominated the activity with 2.88 billion shares valued at 102.26 billion naira, contributing 72.94% and 50.80% to the equity volume and value respectively. While the ICT industry followed with 230.539 million shares worth 45.17 billion naira. The third was the agricultural industry with a turnover of 191.93 million shares worth 6.26 billion naira. There were huge activity witnessed around Wema Bank, Access Corp, UBA, which accounted for 1.45 billion shares worth 43.19 billion naira, contributing 36.65% and 21.45% to the total volume and value respectively. Let's see the market capitalization. It closed at 128.97 trillion naira. The sector performer, 2 out of the 5 sectors under our coverage, closed positive. Investor delight stock for the week. You know, naturally, what we do, we give you what you can take position in. Our researchers have gone through it and saw that there are lights in this very stock. So stock we are giving our stock, we should delight in taking position in. GTCO is one of them, Nigerian Breweries, Dangote Cement, Seplat, MTN, FCMB, and many others. So after the meeting, go back again, because we are going to send all these back to all our esteemed clients, so that you can now call your account officer to know which and which you will buy, and that they are always there to answer you and direct you rightly. Weekly stock recommendation snapshot. In this very one, we are trying to tell you this is what you can buy, this is what you can hold, and this is what you can sell. Now, let's just look at it briefly. PZ, Presco, CWG, MTN, Asamasa, United Capital, Cornerstone, and many others are stock you can buy as we are speaking now. While for hold, Fishing, Custodian, First Bank, NACO, Eternal Oil, and many others, these are stock you can hold for now. We are also looking at it over time. Our researcher will look at it. If you are not to hold it, we will still let you know. But for now, there are still potentials that you can hold it. Definitely, we'll be expecting a profit. While the last one is the sell, we are advising May, Baker, Lasako, Dangote, Sugar, Transcorp, and Corn Oil can be sold. Schedule for analyzed dividend hunting. The word dividend simply depicts a very simple terms. You see, people go to get something. It's like hunting for it. So we in Lead Capital have decided to give you stock 1 to 20. These are stock you can hunt for. How can you hunt for it? It's for you to take position in it. Taking position in it shows that this stock will definitely give you better yield. Let's just pick some and analyze it. You can see Access Bank. We see in there is still 26 naira. Last total dividend was 2 naira. And our projection, we are still looking at it getting to 2 naira. That is, we are talking about this year. If you go back to Zenith, the current price is 103 naira. They gave 4 naira. We are projecting it getting to 5 naira. Those who have not taken position in Zenith, this is time to say, oh, if I buy Zenith now, this is what I'm going to get. And you might not be surprised that apart from this dividend that we are intending they will declare, price appreciation may even exceed the projected dividend. If you discover that the price appreciation you are now having is more than the projected dividend, you sell and watch again. When it drop or when they mark down, you buy again. That's why we are calling it hunting. We have a lot of things you can hunt here between 1 and 20. Lead weekly stock recommendation. Looking at the screen, we have 1 to 40 stock. From 1 to 24 stocks are for buy. You can see the life of Access Bank, ETI, FCMB, UBA, CAP, Arade, PZ, and many others. While from 25 to 35 are for hold, which are ICO, Eternal Oil, FICI, and many others. Finally, from 34 to 40 are for sale, which are Conoye, Dangote Sugar, Lasaco, and many others. Yes, audited and unaudited any updates for the year. Let's see the meaning of this word because it will guide us so that you can actually know what we are trying to pass across. Audited any of a company refers to net income, revenue, and profits, while unaudited any of a company refers to company financial result, include revenue, profits, expenses prepared internally by management but not verified. It helps you to know the condition of the company you are investing in. You can see it vividly that if you look at FCMB, you can see FCMB under 2025 and under 2024, you can see it has 44.90 billion. If you watch what happened in 2024, we have 677 billion. See the difference. You now see the change minus 93.36. That will depict the condition of it, while the earnings is 1.09. Let's go to another environment. Look at Arade. Arade had 101.20 billion in 2025. Let's look at what happened in lesser year. It had 259.10 billion. You can see the difference is having the percentage is having 54.87%. This will not depict that. You can see the condition of the stock. These are environments where you can actually take position and be very happy at the end of the day. So we have many others between 1 to 20. And as you keep looking at it, you should be able to call your account officer to say, look at what you have given me. These are the ones I am buying. If you still need their professional advice, they are always there to give you. Okay, now dividend payment trackers. This dividend payment tracker is for us to know what is happening now, what we are expecting result. If you go to AfriPrudential, you discover it's closed. So 2nd of April, they have already closed it. So going to that simply means you are not expecting anything. We have Boa Smith. They are giving 10 naira. Our qualification date is 8th of May. While payment day is 21st of May. It's still very open. Still wide open for us to take position. Let's go to Geregu. Geregu is giving 9 naira. Our qualification day is 13th of April, while payment day is 30th of April. So we have areas of stocks that you can take position. Look at MTN. Last year, MTN did not give anything, but presently now, they are giving 15 naira, which qualification day is 8th of April, while payment is 15th of May. So you cannot see that you still have room to take position in those stocks. If you watch very well, MTN is 718. And before it got to 743 or thereabout before there was a drop. So there is room for you to take position. Thank you. Weekly expectation, very, very important. Last week, the Nigerian stock market ended in a negative territory after 3 consecutive weeks of bull run. We expect this week to be dominated by profit-taking activity as the Easter holiday approaches. We also predict the all-share index will likely hover around 200 and 203 basis points. However, the market still awaits the result. Market briefing, set public holiday, right decision by following all recommendations and money insight for weekly decisions. Patient, always be when you buy the stock before taking any further decision. Remember, we have seasoned researchers. Risk aversion, know yourself before any action. That is why you must let us take you through the journey of the stock market. Finally, let us act boldly when others are scared. Capitalize on the recommended stock. We'll go straight to our Q&A.
Thank you so much, Frank. We have a couple of questions right now. I have sold my MTN Nigeria shares. Can I still buy MTN Nigeria now?
Thank you. MTN Nigeria stock shares have experienced a massive rally this year, any over 4%. It's now currently 718. I will say yes, you can buy. There are two things you might see gain: either price appreciation again, or you enjoy dividend declared. If you look at our ratio, we see it, so it's good for buy. Thank you.
Okay, how does the ongoing war in Iran between Iran and Israel affect the Nigerian capital market? Just very quickly, one thing that any market in the world, any capital market in the world, it's like is one, market uncertainty. So yeah, maybe market uncertainty. Then secondly, inflation. And as we can see, the first impact of the war is the surge in the energy costs, which we strongly believe will lead to higher inflation in the Nigerian market. But not to worry, and we believe that with the current structure of the market and then the policies that are being put in place by the monetary policymakers, we believe that the markets would be able to withstand whatever headwind that we might likely face. But the immediate impact that we might likely see is inflation going up. But the good thing that we should notice, even at the current return of ASI at 29%, we are doing way above inflation at 15.05%, which we believe that even if inflation slightly go higher, the market will still be able to absorb the slight uptick that we would see in inflation. For now, we believe that the sectors of the market that will directly benefit from the ongoing war, the oil and gas sector. Also, we might see the consumer good also benefiting, because when these guys increase their prices, so when there's an increase in price, they are likely going to pass this cost onward to the final consumer. So we might not see their bottom line or their top line taking a major hit. Is the iOS version out now? Yes, please. For our mobile app, that's Leap Trader, the iOS version is now out. You can go to the Apple Store to download that. But before doing that, please uninstall the version you currently have before you reinstall the new one. ETF seems to be moving rapidly on the market. How risky are they for investors, and are there still any good ones for investing now? ETFs generally, as we all know, they mirror a particular index in the market, and we have a number of ETFs currently by different houses. For now, Lead Capital, we do not have an ETF, but if you're interested in any ETF, all you need to do is to understand what the ETF mirrors. Is it mirroring the NGX 30? Is it mirroring the oil and gas? What sector of the economy? Sorry, what sector of the market does the ETF mirror? I think that's the first thing you need to check through. And there was what's the outlook for that particular sector before you put in your money in any of the ETF. Are they overpriced? We don't think so. We do not believe so. Although there might be some who are overpriced. Just do your analysis before you invest. And a good way to do that would be look at our projection for any of the sectors and then see if there's any ETF that mirror a particular sector that we've recommended to you. Because of our time, we'll only be able to take just one more question, and that would be thanks for the presentation. I've been posting my shares in Wema Bank PLC for sale to sell for some week back, but not going through. Is there any problem? We will look through this. It could be that one, maybe your order is at a limit and that the market hasn't gotten there, or it could also be that the order has expired or something in that line. But please send us an email. We can't see your name, but please send us an email and then we'll be ready to guide you through on how to resolve that. Because of our time, we would like to bring an end to the meeting at this point. Thank you so much for taking out the time to join us. As our usual practice, we appreciate your time and the audience you give to us week in, week out. Thank you, and do have a good and productive weekend.